Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Rishi Harinan and C News is live. Topping the news at this time, much of Dominica was devastated by Hurricane Maria overnight. Several areas of the island were without power, and even the roof of the Prime Minister Dr. Roosevelt Skerritt's home was blown off and had to be rescued. The Dominican Prime Minister issued a statement saying there were initial reports of widespread devastation. He said so far they've lost all what money can buy and replace. Prime Minister Skerritt said, quote, "My greatest fear for the morning is that we will wake up to the news of serious physical injury and possible deaths as a result of likely landslides triggered by persistent rains," end quote. He said the winds had swept away the roofs of almost every person he had spoken to or otherwise made contact with. He added his focus now is in rescuing the trapped and securing medical assistance for the injured. The Dominican Prime Minister said it was too early to speak of the condition of the air and seaports, but he suspected both would be inoperable for a few days. And the government of Trinidad and Tobago has sent out a release stating it is preparing to send assistance to Dominica. The release states, currently coordination is taking place under the leadership of the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. It is envisaged that as soon as it is safe, a National Helicopter Services Limited helicopter will be sent to Dominica with Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force personnel. The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard is also preparing to send a supply vessel and to take Defence Force personnel as well as supplies up to Dominica. Later today, further announcements will be made as to where the public can drop off goods and supplies to be transported to assist the citizens of Dominica. Well, Nisha McIntyre, who resides in Dominica and who traveled out of that country on a business trip, described the devastation in her home via Facebook Live this morning.
My home has been completely damaged. My last contact with the island was at 4 o'clock. At that point in time, some of the strongest homes that I knew were gutted. Almost everyone I know has lost their roofs, and these are very well put together new build homes, and it just makes me wonder what's really happening to the people who aren't as fortunate as those people.
She, like the Dominican Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt, called for assistance for the island.
My heart bleeds for this island that I call home, the people that I call family, my friends. Dominica needs each and every one of you right now. The Caribbean needs each and every one of you right now.
To some other news now. 3 people are dead following incidents in Laventille, Mount Dore and Tableland. In the latest incident, the body of a man was found near Erica Street in Laventille this morning. Passers-by stumbled upon the body of the man, who is still to be identified, at around 5 a.m. Residents say gunshots were heard in the area earlier. Meanwhile, on Tuesday evening at around 7:30 p.m., the body of Kwame Carr was found in the Mount Dore Road. According to reports, gunshots were heard at Oliver Trace. 32-year-old Carr from Spring Valley, Mount Dore, was found bleeding on the roadway. And at about an hour later in Tableland, 25-year-old Kyle Carabon was found dead in the front seat of his Mitsubishi Lancer. The car was found a short distance away from the Tableland High School. Police are continuing their investigations into both incidents. Students, teachers and parents who were affected by the hostage situation at MIC O'Meara will be given counseling. The Minister of Education, Anthony Garcia, gave this assurance as he responded to questions in the Senate this morning. On Monday, a 32-year-old man from Santa Cruz was arrested after taking a 17-year-old student at the facility hostage at gunpoint. The man had gone to the school to confront a female student he knew. When the argument became intense, police were called. The minister said he was in a meeting with the chairman and vice chairman of MIC when the incident was taking place.
After getting all the facts, and I want to repeat, after getting all the facts, the decision was taken that counseling services will be provided to students, staff, and the parents commencing Wednesday, the 20th of September, that is tomorrow, and continuing the day after, that is Thursday.
He said additional counseling will take place if needed. However, the minister said security at the school will not be increased as it is adequate at this time.
We have been assured that the security that is in place is adequate. And that is one of the considerations that was taken yesterday in ensuring that everything is okay. Let me also inform this House that the incident did not have its genesis at MIC. It started when the person boarded a taxi on the way to Arima, on the way to the institute, and here's where it unfolded. But it began not at MIC, but it began in a taxi on the way to the institute.
This is the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says the Christian Moutier report into the Tobago ferry fiasco will be forwarded to the Office of the Attorney General and will be made public. The Prime Minister made this announcement on Monday when he appeared before the Joint Select Committee inquiring into the inter-island ferry service.
I am also sending that report to the Attorney General's office for further attention. And I'm also going to make it public so that the public will read it and understand what has been happening with respect to public business. This would not be one of those situations where a report goes on the shelf and gathers dust. The public must know.
The Prime Minister said there were serious questions about decisions made at the port, and he was alerted to serious misgivings concerning procurement of vessels, including the Superfast Galicia, which he believed some people wished to perpetuate.
And I expected the pushback from the port because the port is a place of conflict and iniquity where the taxpayer gets the rough end of it. And of course, you want a head. You want the minister head. And if I had given you the minister head, all of us would have been happy. A minister head has been taken. But those who are down there benefiting from the corruption, which is the hallmark of that and other places in this country, would have been there waiting for the next government and the next board and the next government and the next board.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessy is questioning the Prime Minister's decision to call Hanif Nazim Baksh about his company's possible involvement in the fake oil scandal. Speaking at the UNC's Monday night forum, the opposition leader asked why he would call Baksh before he would call the line minister for Petrotrin.
You know, the Prime Minister, in the face of these allegations, did not call the line minister, the Minister of Energy. Frankie admitted that. He said, they asked him if he spoke with the Prime Minister. He said, well, the Prime Minister is not accessible. But the Prime Minister called whom? His bestie, his pal, his buddy. He did not call the chairman of the new Petrotrin board that he had appointed. But he found time to call his friend.
The opposition leader is also asking what was said during that conversation and posed the question, is the Prime Minister guilty of misconduct in public office?
What is more important for us as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago is what did the Prime Minister say to him. That is what is important. Prime Minister said it was appropriate to call him. So you do not call line minister, you call nobody in the state enterprise, you call your friend. So, serious questions from this food court to his buddy. The question I am asking today is whether the Prime Minister may be guilty of misconduct and misbehavior in public office.
Moving on to some other news now. While Hurricane Maria wreaked havoc further north in the Caribbean, the southwestern village of Cedros was severely affected by flooding after heavy rains overnight. These are pictures from the home of a resident. C News was told from Bonas Village, Edward Street, Tuari, as well as Cedros Composite were severely affected by floodwaters. Villagers are also concerned about recurring land slippages in the area. One resident told C News that there are some 3 at this point. Residents also complained that there was not water available in their taps to begin cleanup operations. And we now join our meteorologist Ian Wallace for the weather forecast.
And hello. Well, we've been seeing the effects of Maria as it made landfall across Dominica. Right now, the hurricane conditions with watches and warnings out for Guadeloupe, Dominica, St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat, Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Alongside them is Sabre and St. Eustatius, St. Martin, Anguilla and St. Bartholomew. And obviously the Virgin Islands are watching for this progress quite closely. Maria made landfall as a Category 5 hurricane with 260 km/h winds at 9:15 on Monday evening. On the southern side of Dominica, it did wobble a bit. It obviously affected Guadeloupe, and at its current position, it is just south of St. Kitts, Nevis, and just towards the west-southwest of Montserrat. Of course, in the Douglas Charles Airport, they got their last reading was at Monday 3 p.m. of 74 km/h. Nothing has appeared out of Dominica's Met Service from that time in terms of the current winds that they have been experiencing. And obviously, they were under that eye all the way until about 11 p.m. So they got a couple of hours good of that unfortunate extreme core of Maria. Right now, Maria is set to be heading towards the northwest, with obviously the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico in its sight, and it will continue to obviously bring threatening storm surge and rainfall, flooding, and obviously the destructive winds as well. In terms of the rainfall, it may well be bringing up to 500 millimeters of rain as it goes through the next few days, heading up towards Puerto Rico. And obviously those islands, including the Turks and Caicos, which was battered by Irma, will likely feel again the full brunt of Maria if it stays on this course. And obviously the impacts across the Lesser Antilles will be felt all the way across up towards the Dominican Republic and up towards the Turks and Caicos Islands as they go through Thursday. And for obviously the southern part of the Caribbean, at the southern Windward Islands, we have been seeing a few feeder bands bringing some showers, but overall we have been seeing the tail end of that moving out of our area. So the track for Maria is set to take it out towards the Virgin Islands as it goes through later on Tuesday going into Wednesday, and then further up reaching the Turks and Caicos Islands. And obviously this is a concern for them, especially having suffered the effects of Irma. So for the rest of today then, Basta will continue to feel the effects of Maria. Further down towards Bridgetown, a few heavy thunder showers are likely as some feeder bands come through there. Up towards St. George's, some downpours are also likely. Some of those downpours came through Trinidad, and they'll be moving up the island chain as Irma makes its way further towards the northwest. So that's a look at your Caribbean weather, and now it's back to you, Rishi.
Thank you very much, Ian, and we will continue to track Hurricane Irma and bring you all the updates. So for more on these and other stories, you can visit our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. The Chief Executive Officer of ANV Oil and Gas Limited, Hanif Baksh, has apologized to members of the media whom he and a police officer had attacked. A statement from his attorney, Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, said notwithstanding the strict legal rights which exist for the enjoyment of one's property, the company tenders its apologies and accepts that it has an obligation in this matter to cooperate with the media to facilitate and provide information in respect of the allegations leveled against it. Mr. Baksh also extended an invitation to members of the media to see for themselves the operations of the company. He proposed a tour of his company on Thursday, 21st September at 10 a.m. Well, the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago is calling on journalists to reject the invitation put forward by ANV Oil and Gas. In a statement on Tuesday, the Media Association became the latest group to condemn the attacks on journalists near the premises of the ANV compound. MAT stated it would look forward to a thorough investigation by the TNT Police Service of these brutal and unwarranted assaults leading to criminal charges against those responsible. The MAT release said the heavily worded statement by ANV Oil and Gas Limited also extended an invitation to the media to take a tour of their facilities and observe their operations. We call on all journalists and their assignment editors to reject this invitation as their safety cannot be guaranteed. MAT also called on ANV to take full responsibility for any involvement in these brutal attacks and to replace all damaged equipment at once and pay for all medical bills incurred as a result. To some other news now, the 12th annual Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival kicks off today with over 120 feature-length short and experimental narrative and documentary films to offer. The festival aims to celebrate films from in and around the Caribbean and the Caribbean's diaspora, as well as from world cinema. Officials of the event says the TTFF seeks to facilitate the growth of Caribbean cinema by offering a wide-ranging industry program and networking opportunities. The Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival is expected to run from September 19th to 26th September at Movietown, Port of Spain, San Fernando and Tobago, as well as at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. Hockey news now, where Malvern missed out on the chance to lift the indoor national title when they faced Queen's Park without several key players. In their absence, the Woodbrook outfit still put up a fight but were no match for the experienced Parkites outfit. While in the women's final, Paragon and Magnolias played out a close encounter to determine the national indoor champs.
Paragon opened the scoring in the 3rd minute when Ariella Williams slapped home the penalty corner for a 1-0 lead. Mags tried to respond immediately, but this wonderful effort just couldn't hit pay dirt and it stayed 1-0 at the half. Mags would draw level from another penalty corner when the rebound is eventually slapped home from close range, 1-1 in the 27th as Shania De Freitas celebrates the goal. Then a minute later, the ladies in yellow had more reasons to smile when Caitlin Green converts this penalty flick for the 2-1 advantage. Both teams would try to add more goals, Mags coming close here. But Paragon battled hard for the equalizer, which never came, as Mags held on for the 2-1 victory and the national indoor title. In the men's final, a depleted Malvern in white battled the experienced Queen's Park outfit, minus 3 of their top players. But 12 minutes in, the Parkites would strike first when Aidan Ducans was on spot to slam home the rebound for 1-0. They would double up 4 minutes later when Michael Durity redirects Darren Curry's blast for 2-0 now to the Parkites. Malvern would cut that lead in half in the 19th when Kevin Emmanuel squeezes off a shot from a tight angle and listens for the sound of tinning as it went in. The Woodbrook Gamma boys would come close again but had to settle for a 2-1 deficit at the half. Parkites would regroup and make it 3-1 2 minutes into the second half. Stefan Mute's blast flies in despite the keeper position at the near post. They would add to the lead with this sweeping move that pulls the keeper one way and then the next before Rafi Govaya tacks on another for 4-1 in the 27th. That quickly became 5-1 when Durity added a second. Malvern had a chance to pull one back, but the penalty was missed. And they would eventually get a second when Emmanuel was again on spot to fire home low and hard for 5-2 in the 37th. However, the Parkites would respond as Rafi also notched his brace in the 39th. But to their credit, the young Malvern Warriors would play to the final whistle and pulled another back through Christian Emmanuel this time. But they would come up short as the Parkites prevailed 6-3 in the end for the indoor title.
Moving on now to some other sport news. The Meccano brothers, Tariq and Teague, are off to the UK to pursue their studies and hockey careers. Tariq will be attending the University of Hertfordshire and will return to play with St Albans Hockey Club. Tariq played with Canterbury HC in 2015-2016 and visited St Albans for a few months earlier this year. Teague, a recent graduate of Fatima College, will be attending St Lawrence College and still has to confirm the club team which he will be making his debut with in the Premiership. National goalkeeper and TTHP Player of the Year, Kwesi Emmanuel, will also be making a debut into the UK circuit this September with Temperley Hockey Club. Emmanuel, who played with the Meccano brothers on the senior men's team at the recently concluded Pan American tournament, will be playing with Temperley for the 6-month hockey season, mid-September 2017 to March 2018. And that's it for sport. Well, that brings us to the end of the C News Report. I'm Rishi Harinanan. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, visit the C News website at ctvtt.com. Have a good afternoon.